Hello everyone, welcome to ChessVisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. Let's talk about this game played between Christopher and Niemann, and it was actually played in Marshall Grandmaster Norms 2020, round number 7. So before we check this game, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So Christopher was handling white pieces, so he opens the game with 1 e4. So we have e5 by Niemann, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to b5, the roller pass. So for this, Niemann tries Berlin defense with the knight f6, and here we have multiple main moves for white. So white could castle, white can play queen e2, d3, all are main moves. In the game, he plays pawn to d4. So it's an aggressive idea to simply open up the center. So here after e takes d4, Christopher simply castles on the king side. And in this position, after e takes d4, he could play something like e5 to hit the knight. The knight can go to knight e4, and after queen e2 hitting the knight, and the knight can come to c5. So it's an equal game. There is no problem for both sides. The game could continue in the game, but he simply castles on the king side and the fifth move. So for this, Niemann plays a6, simply questioning the bishop's post. After this, bishop a4, we have pawn to d6. It's a kind of an inaccurate move because you are actually inviting white to grab the d4 pawn. Not only that, the piece is already pinned, or you are actually inviting him to attack the piece for the second time. So here, instead of the direct move, that is knight takes d4, this is the right way to continue the position. So bishop d7, white can take on c6 twice here and damage black's pawn structure on c5. After queen f3, white is doing fine, and black has to still he is not equalized the game, so he has to try to equalize the game here. So going back in this position, but he immediately captures the knight with the bishop takes c6 check. After b takes c6, we have knight takes d4. After bishop d7, now he plays queen f3. The idea is very simple. At one point of time, white is going to put the rook on e file, and he is trying to open up the e file. Since black is behind in the development, and still the king in the center, the basic principle is to simply put pressure in the center and try to open it. So that's why the queen is eyeing the e4 as well as the c6 point here. So in the game, Niemann immediately kicks the knight with the c5, and after knight f5, most of the times our most commonly played move is here is that simply you have to chop the knight off the board. But in the game, he plays pawn h6, stopping bishop to g5 idea. It's an excellent or a deeper understanding by Niemann. Here, instead of that move, if you go down the traditional line, that is bishop takes f5, and line could go like this: e takes f5, bishop e7, pawn c4, stopping the d5 idea. And after castling, white could place knight c3, and white is doing fine. So going back in the game, he plays h6, stopping bishop g5, and after rook e1, he plays bishop c6 now, and there is no pawn push for white here. So the pawn is pinned to the queen. And in this position, I have marked the three main moves for queen here: queen f4, queen d3, queen b3. But in the game, he plays queen c3. So with this idea, he plays queen d7 now. So trying to castle on the queen side, I guess, because you cannot castle on the king side very quickly, because you cannot even develop the bishop, as the g7 will be hanging. So he goes queen d7. In this position, Christopher plays pawn f3. It's kind of an again inaccurate move here. He could have gone pawn to e5 here, try to open up the center. But the problem is we can go down this line: queen takes f5, e takes f6 check. It looks like white is crashing through, but the problem is after e takes f6, the king can go to d7, a very quiet move here. And after f takes g7, you cannot grab the pawn, but if you grab like this, then bishop takes g7 can be played. And after tempting move, that is queen takes g7, we can win the game by putting the rook on g8. Once you retreat the queen, we have the Pillsbury's mating pattern coming up. So after king h1, rook g4, and the white king could be mated in a couple of moves from here. So going back in this position, instead of this move, he played f3, defending the center. So hence Niemann simply castles on the queen side here, and queen a5, bishop e3, rook d1. These are all the main moves here for white. But in the game, Christopher went down this line. That is kind of a tactical error here. Bishop takes h6. And after pawn to d5, he simply ignores this idea because you cannot touch the piece. If you take that, your knight is falling. So he goes in the center with a d5. So after d5, there are multiple responses for white here. So like bishop takes g7 is possible, and the most important move is that rook to d1, and rook to d1, and then black could expand in the center with a d4, and then it can simply capture on h6. Another idea is to simply or immediately capture on d5 like this, but if you do that, your multiple pieces will be hanging and you cannot save them all. So going back in the game, he goes bishop takes g7, and after bishop takes g7, he plays knight takes g7, and now comes the brilliant move, that is d takes f4. So after d takes e4, he goes queen takes f6, and here Niemann continued to grab on f3 here, so e takes f3, and in this position there is only a couple of moves here for white to save the position, and but he did not play the right move here, so rather he played knight f5 here in this position. So we will continue this game. Before that, I would like to check some other variation with say for example, the queen could go to f5 to exchange the queens. So after rook d g8, even if you exchange the queens after king takes d7, your knight is hanging. So once you save the knight, you are actually getting checkmated, starting with the move rook takes g2 check, king f1, and then bishop b5 check, and you have to black with your multiple pieces, and in the ending it is going to be checkmate. So going back, another variation is to consider is to play something like knight to c3. It's not that playable because it's just a developing move. Why don't we consider that? So knight c3 is a natural move, but the problem is black could play the move queen to d2, threatening mate in 1. So after something like g takes f3, you're going to run into this one. So queen takes h2 check, and after king f1, queen g3. If you try to run, then you are getting checkmated in 2 moves. Queen g2 check followed by queen to queen g2 check followed by queen to d2 checkmate. So going back in this position, he played a knight to f5. That allows Niemann to finish the game with the rook dg8 idea. So he's threatening to put both the rooks on the second rank now. So somehow he has to stop it. So he plays knight g3, and after king b7, the idea is very simple. People are telling that this looks weird or strange move. It's not a strange move. He simply defends this bishop. That means he needs the queen for the game. So, and another thing is that many of the creators says this game was 100% and Niemann played like an engine. But the thing is, it is not 100% accuracy. Even he did one mistake in the game, and I'll show you the leeches analysis with accuracy and where the graph went up and down, so you can understand yourself in the ending. So here after king b7, he played a a4. It's an absolute blunder in the position, and here comes the second brilliant move, rook takes h2. You cannot touch the rook here. Actually, if you touch like this, then you are getting checkmated. So say for example, queen can go to g4. You cannot stop the mate actually. Say for example, you are defending the knight, but the problem is we can play f2. So once you attack the queen like this, then we can promote the queen, and you grab any piece here. So say for example, you are grabbing the queen, then you are getting checkmate on a g2 like this. And if you grab the queen itself like this, then you are getting checkmate like this. So either way, you are going to lose the game. So going back in this game, he did not capture the rook. Rather, he played rook a3, trying to defend the third rank. But the problem is, here comes another brilliant move, rook takes g3. So there is no threat in the position. That's why he plays this simple capturing move. And after rook takes g3, he played rook b3 check, and after king a7, Christopher simply resigns the game. So why did he resign? There is no stopping mate here. Actually, the mate is inevitable. Say for example, if you go down this line, king takes h2, then rook takes g2 check followed by king h1, and then queen to h3 is a basic checkmate. So that is why, considering all of these ideas, he simply resigned. And one more thing is that Christopher did not even develop his he's wasted some tempos without developing his knight, and he made almost 3 blunders in the game. And as you can see, so this is what the graph has to say here. Christopher here he played with 2 mistakes and 2 blunders and 82% of the accuracy. And when it comes to Hans Niemann, he played one mistakes with a 91% of the accuracy and with the 3 billion moves in the game. So many of the creators out there, they told that this game was played with 100% accuracy, but I did not know from where they are getting those data. But as far as the leeches is concerned, this is what it is. And I hope you enjoy this quick commentary on this game. If you do so, please give it a thumbs up, and please let me know your ideas, thoughts, some suggestions in the comment section below. And still, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. As usual, this is Chess Wiser, your wise choice to improve your chess.